Welcome to the PathMonk Presents podcast. My name is Sean Donnelly Lewis, and today's episode we have a great guest with us, Steve Groom. He is the founder, CEO, board advisor, business mentor, investor, industrial speaker, all this in one man at Vissensa. Can you say that for me?
Vissensa.
Vissensa. Okay, I said it right the first time. .com. Steve.
Yeah, welcome
to the show.
Great. Sean, thank you very much. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, why don't you just talk about Vissensa? What's it all about?
Okay, so it's Vissensa, and what we are, we're a managed service with a bit of a difference. So formed in 2008, before cloud even sort of really majorly got out there. When people were trying to move from the little server room in the back of their office into a data center and actually have services that were more robust, more secure, that sort of stuff, and have people who were trained and had the experience to monitor and manage those services for them as well. And it was two things really. It's obviously is the ability to have a service which is contained in a data center where you have redundant links and redundant power and all the sort of things you don't have in the server room in the back of your office. But also, there was still is, but a huge experience shortage. And so getting really good trained people who could do the right job for your organization and make sure their IT ran properly was a really expensive resource. And so managed services and managed service providers grew up around that, and cloud has come up to meet that. And we've obviously evolved into providing all of those types of services, whether it be on premise in our own cloud environment, which I think makes us as an organization fairly unique. We run our own cloud services, and then obviously also consuming the public clouds now, which means that you can have your journey anywhere that you think your business wants to be at this point in time on an IT journey.
Amazing. Wow. So it sounds like with clientele, is that just sounds like it would be usable for anyone, right? Like from the goal would be mom and pop shops and big corporations, or do you guys kind of specialize in the people that need more space?
Yeah, no, Sean, you're absolutely right. So our clientele is we run with some of the big blue chip users that I'm sure everybody's familiar with. We have some big banks that we work with. Predominantly those organisations, particularly for our UK organisation, is organisations that are non-domiciled in the UK. So they have no staff in the UK, and they need a UK footprint. That's an ideal candidate for us where they want to do that. But that reach now extends around the world. So we run operations in New York and Brazil and South Africa and across the globe and Singapore. But we also, and I think again this is one of the things which is really important to Vissensa as an organisation, is that we do support those mum and pop shops as well. Personally, I think as a founder of an organization, getting it off the ground and the money that you spend getting an organization off the ground, it's a scary time for those people out there. And one of the things that you have to do is you have to make choices of how robust you're going to make your organization, not only from the computing, but how are you going to attract customers, how are you going to differentiate yourself. And one of the things that we did was to make sure that the enterprise work that we were doing, the stuff we were doing for big corporations that spend lots of money on making sure that they're secure and that they've got lots of latency and all stuff like that, lots of that stuff is applicable down at the bits and byte level from mom and pop shop. It's just about applying it in the right way. And we spend quite a bit of time making sure that we can do that for small SMEs, mid-sized market, and also the large corporates. And I think that's again another standout thing about Vissensa, is we have a range of customers from the teeny weeny right up to the big. Okay, but the problems are identical throughout the entire structure.
Right. And how do you guys get your name out there? Would your website be the main thing that you use to kind of raise awareness or SEO?
Well, Well, that's a really good really good point you make, and I want to tell you a little story here because I think it's really relevant to the podcast. Is that um, when we built Vissensa, we built it using the best technology and the best quality stuff that we could, and for a great deal of time, I was the salesperson. I was going out there banging the doors, and we got a huge amount of work through reputation, doing a great job, under budget, on time, no nonsense. If something isn't the right way to do something, we'll tell them. We'll tell that prospect. We'll walk away from a prospect rather than give something to a prospect that isn't actually going to work. And I think that's a really important thing. And so maybe 4 years in, 5 years into the business, we had customers who knew us in New York. We had customers who knew us in Singapore. But if we walked 5 miles outside the door in the UK, in the south of the UK, people would go, Vissensa who? Because we never concentrated on that stuff at all. And that set us on a path, which was, okay, look, we're doing some really cool stuff across the world. How the hell do we do this stuff more locally, and how do we attract into a market which is pretty saturated? If I think about it, there's probably 20 managed service providers and probably 60 IT services company within a 20-mile radius, 30-mile radius of where I'm talking to you from now. And so therefore, it's a saturated market. You really have to have a differentiator. And one of the ways that you have that differentiator, I think, is to present yourself in terms of the website and the engagement process with prospects and people that want to find out about how to do things.
Okay. Yeah. And so speaking of the website, what would you say for you guys, what is the strength of your website? Would it be your ability to convert customers or get quality leads, or the experience?
It's about, I think, again, interesting story. So, I was a technical person. You can see I've got grey hair. I was in computing when computers were the sizes of football pitches, and so therefore grew up through a technical background, and so therefore those first few websites that we built, man, they were technical. If you went in and had a look at our website and wanted to buy something from us, unless you had a degree in astrophysics, you probably weren't going to get through the first couple of pages.
Okay.
And we thought it was a cool website because we were telling everybody about everything that was. And one day somebody came and tapped us on the shoulder and said, "That's probably a bad idea, Steve." And we scrapped that and started to become a bit more sales focused in terms of the website and what we did, and also to almost detechnify that website. So the platform for us is about discovery. So what we try to do on the website now is to be a site where some people can come and discover on what the possibility of a piece of technology might be Teams, it might be Office 365, it could be a security product, it may well be how do I relocate my environment from London to Madrid. But all of those things are in very easy bite-sized chunks, which talk about the facility rather than the specifics, so that you can then engage with us further if you want to do that.
Okay. So thinking kind of other direction, right? Opposite side. Is there things with the website where you're still, I mean, if you're a tech guy, there's probably a list of things where you feel like this could be better, that could be better. Is there things that you think, what, if we could change this, I would be a lot happier?
I'm never satisfied, Sean.
Right. I know that I asked that.
I think that's a business owner, a business leader. I think never rests, never sits still. There's always a better way of doing something, and I think that's one of the things that's actually really key. Is the market technology, it's moving all the time. So even if you looked at something a while back, it's always good to have a finger on the pulse and actually just see what is happening. And I think probably the thing that's most important in my mind in terms of how a website looks is actually how it interacts with other tooling around a prospect's journey, or somebody that is trying to find out about a particular subject. How do we engage with those people? We're not in a sales cycle at that point in time. This is a case of somebody is looking for some information. They are looking, they're looking across Google, or they're looking across another type of browser to try and find something out. How do we pick those things out and provide them with that first step, which is a not in the face sales message, but actually is actually more an engagement message? Is there something we can provide you? And if you visit if you visit our site, you'll see that there's a huge amount of free resource out there that we have to get people to understand part of the journey before they actually before they come and talk to us, which I think is important.
Yeah. And kind of circling back around to your product, just to state, what would you say for everyone listening, and what would you say is the main competitive advantage of what you guys do there?
Well, the offering at Vissensa is really broad, to be perfectly sure. So I think you can't really single out one thing in the managed service space, in terms of if we're providing the computing for you, a cloud computing environment for you, be it that you've got some servers that we've got in our data center, or you're using some of our cloud, or you're using public cloud. I think the flexibility, one of the things that we do that is quite different, is a lot of organizations work on a t-shirt size basis. You can have, this amount of RAM and this amount of storage and this amount of bandwidth, and that's all you get. Actually, what we have is we have a wide plethora of services that we can provide, and so therefore we can go, actually, what do you want? Rather than let's try and squeeze your business requirement into this t-shirt size that we've got because it's a model we like. What's the thing that you want to do? I think that's the first thing. And then I think the second thing is from a flexibility perspective, is how we operate with a customer. I mean, this is incredibly important to me personally, but I know that it runs right through Vissensa as an organization. We're really interested in working with people that want to have a partnership with us, okay, rather than want to have a transaction. We're just not a transactional business. We want to understand what you're doing. We want to be able to advise you whether that's a good or a bad thing to do. A lot of customers come to us and say, we want X and we want Y, and it needs to be blue and it needs to be square. And I'm sure there's lots of great companies out there, but some of those organizations will go, okay, yeah, that's $15.99. Okay. Actually, the first question we ask them is, why does that have to be blue? Why does that have to be red? And why does it have to be square? And funny enough, we get funny little answers back. And some of those answers as well, from what your business is doing, I don't quite know why you need that thing to be red, because it's 4 times the cost of something that's actually pink. So having the ability to do that, and having consulting, rather than having this t-shirt sizes, yes, we've got this integration specialist that will just spin this up for you. Yeah. Actually, there's a much more consulting piece in it, and there's the differentiator, which I think has led us to the success that we have as an organization.
Yeah. I want to get to that. So I think I would have to look at the structure first. Like, could you talk about your sales and marketing team, how the interaction is there? Because even what you were saying with obviously being able to fit the customer's needs, right? Like there's obviously, just even the dynamic between sales and marketing. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's a really key part of creating an organization that is prospect ready, I'm going to call it, that understands how they're then going to communicate with somebody that wants to get on a journey with you. We spent an awful lot.
Oh, no.
Lot of time and effort in perfecting. Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. I don't know why the internet's. Why don't you? Yeah, just carry it. If you could maybe start from the beginning, just in case.
Yeah, and you can cut it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we've spent a huge amount of time on the people side and the process side of how sales and marketing integrates. I think is vitally important. The journey that a prospect wants to go on, you've got to be prospect ready. You've got to be able to handle how prospects interact with you. And that takes a bit of thought. That takes some forethought to get that right, because it needs to be, it needs to be as slick as it possibly can, and it has to be easy. Yeah, the customer at that point in time is still in a situation where they're evaluating whether you're the right people to do business with. So you've got to put yourself in the best slot to do that. So I think the marketing teams and the sales team at Vissensa, they work incredibly closely together to create campaigns that we put together. And everything we do has some sort of technical bias to it. So the process that we go through also involves the technical team and the CTO in terms of. So let me put it in a different way. If we were going to go to market with a new product, the place that we start is that the CTO and his team would go, we've researched the market for a great product which does better backups, let's say. All right. Okay. They go and test it, and they talk with the vendors, and they do all this sort of stuff. And then they come to a position where they go, yeah, this stuff is really good and it fits this piece of the market and it will really work. What they then have to do is they then have to create a document and a plan which says, I'm going to train the marketing department and the sales department of what this thing does. And then the marketing department goes, okay, let me replay back to what you've got. And they build that scenario around what it is. And then the marketing department then has to basically train the sales department in terms of, here are the succinct messages out of this. Now, this could be short, this could be days, it could be, it depends how big the product is. But what you get then is you get all the rich pieces of information flow from actually what use it is for the customer, right, down to your sales staff, and everybody's engaged. Each part of that jigsaw, the sales, the marketing, and the technical people, they all know what they said to each other. They all know how it fits together, and so that makes for a really, really interesting, an interesting product mix. So it costs money. It costs time. You have to think about that. But it's a really great place to start.
Yeah.
But that's only half the battle, because at that point in time, now what you've got is this lovely fluffy thing that you want to sell. You've now got to create the engine to find some engagement to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. But from beginning to end, just communication, it sounds like, is obviously the key. Not only everybody's vision being the same for your company of, okay, we're putting the customer first, we're doing what's best for the company, for the customer first. Communication, obviously, from the people that are engineering and the new products, then to the marketing, then to the sales, and that actually making sure that everything is well oiled, obviously being informed.
So I think one of the things that comes from that, because you have all of those people involved in that piece of the development of that, is that actually when you get one of your sales representatives or get on a phone call with a prospective client, and the client says, but I've got the Okie Kokie 2900 interface in what I'm using, will it work? You don't get okay, I'll come back to you on that. Yeah,
right.
You actually get to know it won't work with the 2900 interface, because. And that's actually because what you've done is you've spent the time in terms of translating that down from the technical people, because actually it works both ways. And the technical, being a technical person a long time ago, the last thing a technical person wants is a salesperson selling somebody something that doesn't interface with the 2900, because it's just a big problem. Yeah.
Right.
Because the customer's never going to get what they want out of it. And it's just the technical department is just going to have a big hot potato on their hands. It wins nobody any prizes. So engineering that out of that is really important.
Absolutely. So we're kind of nearing the end of the show. We're just going to enter into our rapid fire section. So that's just where I know you're starting to sweat. You might want to grab some cold water or something. I'm just going to.
I'll get Buzz involved. He can answer some.
That's right. I'm just going to mercilessly throw questions at you, and we'll see how far we get before the end of the time. How's that sound?
Yeah, good.
All right. Steve, what's the last book that you've read?
I read something called Blitzscaling, which is a really interesting book from the guy who co-founded LinkedIn, and I think the New York one of the New York papers, all about how you scale a business from start, how you get money, seed funding money, and stuff like that. The really interesting thing that I took from that book was actually that even if you're already an organization and you are pivoting your business, if you read Blitzscaling, it gives some fantastic ideas about how you approach a new market. And obviously with the pandemic and stuff like that, there are, lots of businesses having to pivot what they do and do things differently. And the decision making and how you do that is incredibly well written in that book.
Great. What's the one thing that your company's focused on the most at the moment?
So I think the focus for us right now is there's a huge transition of business into the public clouds, particularly Azure and AWS. For specific workloads, I mean, some of the people that have been to the cloud, I mean, Cloud 2.0, people have gone to the cloud, thought it was a panacea, realized it wasn't. We have a lot of people coming back from the cloud with certain workloads. And so actually focusing on how that hybrid stuff works at this point in time is definitely one of the things that we're focusing on in terms of a practice for that.
If you could start the company over, back at day one, what would be the one piece of advice you give yourself?
Wow, that's a really interesting one. I think I'd have thought bigger. If I'd have had the Blitzscaling book on that day, I think I might have done things a little bit different. Maybe I've been a bit cautious.
Okay. And then just for the last thing on the show, we normally give our guests the last word. So if you just want to say one thing about what you guys do to kind of sum up everything that you've said, or just something else that you would want to say, go for it. The floor is totally yours.
Sure, thanks. So I think what I'd say is that cloud computing and computing in general has evolved a huge amount, and particularly with this pandemic, there's a whole bunch of things that people have realized that they've had to do differently. We see sort of two types of people, two types of organization, two types of business leader. The business leader that's still got their head stuck in the sand, that they've had things going for the last X amount of years and they want to stick with it and try and make it turn around again. And those people that are actually doing things differently and trying to pivot what they're doing. I think that those people that are pivoting, because of the way that business is being done these days, are more online, and particularly the rapid change in the way that people do things is, get out there and review what you're doing, even if it's small bite-sized chunks. But look at what you're doing, particularly if you did something at the beginning of the pandemic to fix a problem, but now that thing is sort of now starting to be ingrained in what you do. Go back and think about almost your day one question. Mm-hmm. Go back and look at it and go, was that the best thing for my organization? Because don't stick with it. Don't stick with something that was a sticking plaster. Take the tougher road and take a deeper look at what you're doing in your organization and say, how can I redefine this in such a way that we're bigger and smarter and more agile in terms of what we're doing.
Great. Well said. Steve Groom, Vissensa.com.
Vissensa.
Vissensa. Oh, terrible.
No worries.
Thanks a lot for your time, Steve.
Yeah, pleasure. Absolutely great. Thanks, Sean.